Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope that you've been enjoying the pieces that we've done so far this week. Today we have a new one. We're going to learn a piece from the Sevda tradition, which is a style from Bosnia that has a strong Turkish influence. So here's a little background for you. For a long time, Bosnia was part of the Ottoman Empire, and the Ottomans were a kingdom whose people were mostly Turkish, but they were strongly influenced by the literature and culture of Persia, which is the ancient ancestor of what we know as modern Iran. So the Ottoman culture was very cool. They placed a strong value on art, architecture, literature, and poetry. And this is interesting, every ruler had to master some kind of craft such as calligraphy. So it'd be an interesting requirement for the President of the United States. You can be president, but first Yo-Yo Ma has to pass off on your cello playing. So here are a few examples of artwork from Ottoman times. I will just let you absorb these for a few moments. The Ottomans expanded north into Eastern Europe beginning in 1382 and lasting all the way until 1912. That's more than 500 years. That's a really long time. Their predecessor was the Byzantine Empire, which you might not have heard of, but basically it was the eastern half of the old Roman Empire, which continued existing even after the western part of the Roman Empire disintegrated. So back to Sevda. Sevda melodies are usually slow or moderate speed. They're always very emotional. In fact, the word Sevda actually comes from the Persian word suvdaja, which means longing. Sevda used to always be performed as unaccompanied voice, in other words, one singer and no other instruments. And one of its features is having many notes all connected on one long vowel sound. The Western name for this vocal technique is melisma. Within the last century, Sevda usually includes voice and also accordion, violin, bass, drum, and sometimes sharjija, which is a traditional plucked instrument with a rounded body and a long neck. Later in the day, we're going to listen to a few recordings by authentic Sevda performers. I invite you to spend lots of time listening to these over the next few weeks, the piece that we're playing, but also the other ones. And you have the music notation to help you, but please don't try to learn it from the sheet music. If you do, you're going to sound really, really American. And a Sevda player would be like, oh my God. And the reason is because it's like learning a language. If you have barely heard the language before, there's going to be a bunch of new sounds that just aren't in your vocabulary at all. And then you're doing the American version of those sounds, and because you haven't listened very much, you don't even realize there's a difference. So if you're like me and you didn't grow up in this tradition, you are probably not going to have an authentic Sevda sound anytime soon. And I definitely don't. But what we can do is respect the tradition, really immerse ourselves in the sound, and begin to at least acquire an ear for this style. So, without further ado, here is our Bosnian song from the Sevda tradition, Čudna Jada od Mostara grada.